Hey, what is going on, guys? In this video today, we're going to be going over how to become a smarter Fortnite player. We're going to be focusing on how to improve in the aspects of Fortnite that don't involve any mechanical skill whatsoever. So none of these tips will have anything to do with skills such as gun skill, advanced building techniques, or editing speed. And that probably sounds like music to a lot of people's ears because those mechanical skills take a lot of time, effort, and practice to actually improve on. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Alright, so let's start this video off by talking a little bit about certain aspects of positioning in Fortnite. If you guys have watched at least a few of my tip videos before, you're probably aware of the fact that I think positioning is an absolutely vital skill in Fortnite. If you're one of those players who doesn't have the best aim or isn't some incredibly fast builder, you need to look for other ways to give yourself an advantage in fights that make up for those mechanical disadvantages. Having good positioning is one way to do that, and it really is something that any Fortnite player is capable of, no matter your overall skill level. And I'm sure by now, most of you guys know the gist of some of the most common ways to get positioning advantages in Fortnite. We've talked about using natural high ground like mountains and buildings, maneuvering behind enemies in fights, constantly relocating in the middle of fights to catch players off guard, all of that good stuff. However, what some players struggle with is what to do once they have that positioning advantage. And one of the biggest mistakes that I see players make in that situation is that they'll give up good positioning way too early in a fight. Let me give you an example of what I mean by this. Let's say you're in a 1v3 situation and you're positioned really well behind all three players, and we can even say that you're on top of some kind of two-story building just to make it an even better situation. So the first thing you're going to do here is obviously get off some AR shots at one of the enemies. And let's just say you absolutely crack this guy. Before he's able to build to protect himself, you hit him 5 times with a purple scar for 185 damage. So now you know he has at most 15 total health left. What so many people do in this situation is that they'll jump off that building and make a straight sprint towards that 15 health enemy. Now, if the same theoretical situation had been in a solo match, that would absolutely be the right play. You would want to pressure that player immediately to prevent him from getting off any kind of healing. However, to pressure the 15 health enemy, you would be forced to give up your awesome positioning advantage, and as I said at the beginning here, this is a 1v3. So even though you made one teammate really weak, there are still 2 others sitting there at full health. And I think it's safe to assume that they're not just going to let you rush and down their friend without giving any resistance. If you were to rush out into the open like a madman, you're putting yourself at the risk of basically getting sandwiched between 3 different enemies. And I don't care how good of a Fortnite player you are, that's going to be an almost impossible fight to win. I think that the smartest play in this situation would be to stay patient, keep the positioning advantage that you have, and only give it up when they force you to give it up. You want to stay there for as long as possible and continue to fire those AR shots at the 2 other remaining teammates. They're probably going to be in somewhat of a mad scramble as they try to locate you, so it's a really good opportunity to get a bunch of solid chip damage. And then once you've done a bunch of damage and they start to fire back at you or even push you, then you make your next move, whatever that may be. By staying positioned on kind of the outskirts of the fight, you're pretty much free to engage and disengage from that fight whenever you want. If you push right into the middle of that team, they're not just going to let you get away, you're either winning that fight or you're dying, period. And you're also increasing your potential to be third-partied from an outside team as well. I think the main reason why so many players give up their positioning advantage way too early in fights is because of a Fortnite bad habit known as tunnel vision. This is basically when you focus way too hard on one player in a fight even though there are multiple other players involved as well. This explains why a lot of people will do really stupid things once they make a player weak, because the only thing that they're focused on is killing that player. And tunnel vision can also apply to situations once you actually get a knock on a player and you're trying to eliminate them. In my opinion, thirsting a downed player is something that's always going to be a part of Fortnite. And there are a ton of situations where immediately eliminating a downed enemy is actually the smartest and best play to make. Some examples of this include when you're low on materials and need more right away to finish the current fight, any kind of long-range fight where you want to eliminate the enemy before his teammates can build around him, practically any fight in a pop-up cup since you immediately get granted extra health, or any kind of situation where you're about to disengage from a fight, so you need to eliminate the enemy immediately or he's guaranteed to get revived once you leave. However, tunnel vision and I guess also being bloodthirsty leads to many players dying because they lock on 1000% to finishing a player they down. I do get the thought process behind it. You don't want the guy to get revived and then somebody else steals your kill, but trust me, it's never worth risking your life in a Fortnite game for just one extra kill. Plus, a lot of the time, you can use that down player to your advantage by kind of baiting his teammates into a bad situation to try to revive him. And if you are going to immediately thirst an enemy for whatever reason, remember that down players have invincibility for a few seconds anyway, so take that time to build around yourself as a way of protection. The next thing that I want to discuss in this video is something that a lot of people struggle with when it comes to build battles, understanding when to play high ground and when to play low ground. We've talked before on this channel about how valuable of a skill knowing how to play low ground is, and I'm sure by now most of you guys have at least a decent idea of how to get high ground and also what to do once you have it. But if you make the mistake of going for high ground in a situation where you should be playing low ground or vice versa, you're going to be in big trouble no matter how good of a builder you are. So one thing I want to emphasize right away is that your ultimate goal in a build fight should always be to get high ground. The amount of vision and shooting angles it provides will be better than low ground in almost every single situation, so that's why if you run into another player that you're clearly a better builder than, your goal should be to get high ground right away. And then from there, you have the option to do a bunch of different things. You could do the Tfue Classic with your shotgun, you could build out or up a bit further to get an AR shooting angle, or if you're really confident that you're the better player, you could even just jump down when they're not expecting it and 50-50 them. But as great as high ground is, there's going to be those unavoidable situations where you simply can't get it. Unless you're the fastest builder on the planet, you're going to run into players that are simply better builders than you. And when that's the case, that's when low ground becomes a very inviting option. The general rule of thumb that most good players stick to is at the beginning of every build battle, they'll immediately try to get high ground. If they get built over or blocked off, they'll then do one attempt to retake high ground. If that retake isn't successful, then they'll make the decision to play low ground. Against a good player, going for multiple high ground retakes right away is simply not a very smart play. You're going to burn a ton of materials doing that, and going for high ground retakes puts you in an incredibly exposed position. And trust me, the really good players are probably going to know exactly what to do when you attempt your retake. So much like when you get high ground, there are a few different things you can do when forced into a position of low ground. You can go for low ground peeks at unexpected angles, you can try to pre-fire where your enemy is going to peek from on high ground, or you can attempt to break out parts of their structure. Keep in mind that the entire time you're doing any of this, you should be looking for opportunities to retake high ground, especially if your opponent ends up making some kind of a mistake. And one major advantage that low ground has over high ground is the fact that you're much less visible from a distance and therefore much less likely to be third party. Now, I'll admit that there are way more variables to determining whether to play low ground or high ground than I could ever include in this video. It really does differ on a fight-to-fight basis most of the time. But I think if you follow the general template that I presented in this video, you'll probably end up making the smart choice in most of your fights. I think the simplest way that I can sum up the high ground versus low ground debate is with this. High ground gives you the advantage in almost every fight and is easier to play. However, it can cost a lot of materials to get, and every player is going to want it. Therefore, there's no way you're going to be able to get it every time, and that's why it's so important to know when and how to play low ground. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you watched the entire thing, be sure to let me know with a comment down the comment section below. I want to know, and be honest with me here, do you believe that you are a smart Fortnite player? Simple yes or no question, but probably not all that easy to answer, and really think about it, because if you want to get better, it's important to know stuff like that. Be sure to leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, turn on post notifications, do whatever the heck you want, and I will catch you guys next time.